Hey, thanks for coming back and joining us for the second episode of Conversations in Colorado. We have a new guest, new location that we traveled out to for today. So we've got Brent of PDS Radon Supply who's going to be hanging out with us today for awesome conversations of businesses in Colorado. But before we jump into business talk, can kind of get a little long in aspect. So we're going to talk more about the debate of pizza. And the reason why is because Brent is a native of Chicago. So I've always had this component that I've heard deep dish pizzas for the tourists, and that real Chicago pizza is something different. So I've heard this, but I'd like to know the take of a real, a real Chicagoan.
Well, I mean, you don't build a dad bod like this by being snooty about your pizza. So I do love my deep dish.
Okay.
Lou Malnati's is my choice. But yes, what they're talking about is pub pizza.
Okay.
So pub pizza is phenomenal. There's a lot of bars all over Chicago, especially on the north side. You can go in and get a beer, watch a game, you order a pizza. It's very thin crust. They cut it in squares. So if you ever see a square cut pizza, that's kind of a Chicago thing.
Okay.
But pretty much anywhere when you're at a tavern pizza, pub pizza, kind of the same thing. There's a really good one when I'm feeling homesick. It's people in Chicago would probably throw it in the trash, but when you're hundreds of miles away, home run in pizza, King Soopers is pretty solid. It's a pretty good pub pizza. So get that, crisp it up, leave it in there for a couple extra minutes, and then cut it in squares, and you get a little taste of Chicago there.
Okay. And that's at King Soopers. It gets in the frozen pizza section?
Frozen pizza section, yeah.
Okay.
I just find at our altitude, you got to throw it in there for a couple extra minutes.
Okay.
And then, throw it in there with like a nice lager beer.
All right.
And you're going to have a good night.
All right.
Watch the Blackhawks lose, the Bears lose.
At least you stay true to your roots with your sports teams.
I do. I love them.
So.
I got my Bears paraphernalia in the background. I'm excited we traded that #1 pick. Talk all day about football.
Yeah.
The rest of the stuff, I'm a pretty fair weather fan.
Okay.
When it comes to, but
all right.
I love my Bears for some stupid reason.
All right, understandable. Well, we do know that as a Coloradan, we can try a little taste of your home in there. So that's a little, I guess, the trick of the trade from Chicago.
Check it out.
So I guess I should ask you, so what is your business? So what do you guys do?
Yeah, so PDS Radon Supply, we've been in the industry, been in business since 1989.
Okay.
My in-laws took it over in 96, and believe it or not, we're one of the largest radon supply houses in the entire United States. So what Ferguson is to plumbers, what Home Depot is to general contractors, that's what we are to the radon industry.
Yep.
But we sell to do-it-yourselfers, homeowners. If you need a radon test kit, we're the place to go. We ship all over the world. In the past 12 months, we've shipped to pretty much all 50 states, Guam, South Korea. Radon is a global issue.
Yeah.
They didn't test for it when we were kids, so a lot of people watching right now probably have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. That was my next question. What is radon? So
we're all about spreading radon awareness into air quality. It's a really silly way to get sick. The consumer protection laws have not caught up because the first one wasn't tested till the 80s. So it's completely up to you in most states of the country, and Colorado is one of them.
Okay.
It's completely up to you to protect your family. There are no laws regarding that you have to test, that you have to be safe. But what it is, it's the #1 leading cause of lung cancer death outside of smoking. If you smoke, it actually amplifies that risk. But thousands of never smokers get stage 4 lung cancer every year and die from just living in their homes. So it comes up from the soil. It's part of the uranium-238 decay chain. It's only radon for about 4 days, but a radioactive element is something that's unstable. It's decaying. It's changing what it is.
Okay.
And what happens is if radon decays while it's in your lungs, you have a higher risk of developing lung cancer. It's literally, I get really deep in the weeds, but basically it shoots out an alpha particle, which is basically a helium nucleus. Speed of light, it's mostly empty space down there. Usually it just goes until it hits something. It can get stopped by a piece of paper. When it's in your lungs, it can actually hit your DNA tissue, tear through it like a bowling ball, cannonball, rip it to shreds. And if your body can't repair that, that's literally what cancer is mutated DNA that's irreparably damaged.
Okay.
So basically, if you have high radon levels, you have to go get a hotel and leave your house. It's not like carbon monoxide. It's not going to kill you in your sleep.
Yeah.
But what it is, it's a long-term health risk, just like smoking. We all know people that smoke for 50 years and die on their 100th birthday and no problems whatsoever, not even a cough.
Yeah.
Same thing with radon. There's certain people that they're doing research right now on genetic susceptibility to certain types of cancers, and I'm sure that research is going to show there's certain people that are more susceptible to radon-induced lung cancer than not. But right now, the name of the game is just get it as low as possible. You're always going to breathe it in. Even outside air is about 0.3 picocuries per liter in radioactivity. The UK action level is 4 picocuries per liter.
Yeah.
Those numbers don't mean a lot to people.
Yeah.
Might be rolling their eyes right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
6.4 is our average in Colorado, and 6.4 is actually the equivalent of getting a chest X-ray every other day. terms of radioactive exposure to your lungs.
Okay.
That's what the average Coloradoan is living with.
Okay.
Just going to the doctor. I know when I'm at the dentist, the doctor, I want them throwing that lead bib over me.
Yeah. Yep.
But right now, everybody's getting one of those every other day or
Mm-hmm.
smoking by default. It's about the equivalent of half a pack of cigarettes a day.
Wow.
Just by living in your house. You can't see it. You can't smell it. The only way to know your level is to test.
Gotcha.
But the good news is it's super easy and cheap to test. Testing is not how we make our money at all. I'm constantly giving tests away for free. Frankly, if you walk in here and say, I saw you and Curtis talking, I'll give you $5 off a radon test kit.
Oh, okay.
It's like me buying you a beer.
Yeah.
But it's really, they're $15 at full price.
Okay.
You can get a professional to do it for about $150, and it's just the start of just understanding your risk and your exposure.
Okay. Is easy home test if someone does want to do that? Like, what's that look like for them to do?
You can check out my YouTube channel. I've got a 2-minute video on how to deploy those, but it's typically a 2 to 4 day test or a 90-day to a year test, however you want to do it. But the $15 ones, you deploy for a couple days, wrap it up in the mail, send it to the lab, and they can actually text you your results now. I just did mine because the EPA recommends every home in America be tested every 5 years. If you have a radon problem, test it every 2. Because radon levels do fluctuate and they can change. They fluctuate a lot due to weather. I've got a ton of blog posts about this. So don't just test once and think you're safe, because I get calls every week of people going, oh, I just sold my house. Yeah. Living here for 30 years. They say, we have a radon problem. I tested at 96. We didn't have a radon problem. It's like, well, probably 70 degrees out that day. Yeah. Radon wasn't being pulled into your house. Okay. So that's why you want to test every couple of years to make sure. I say the only people in America that could really confidently get away with not testing are folks living in houseboats or in a van down by the river. Okay. Like if your house touches the soil, you need to test it. It has nothing to do with basements, nothing to do with how old your house is. Touching the ground, you got to test your house.
So it's very popular to get a house on a slab now. So even if you're sitting on a slab, that's still something you've got to be mindful of, not just basement dwellings.
Yeah, you can watch my wife and I actually build our house. We built with Classic Homes here in the community. I recommend them as a builder. Okay. But they helped us build Radon Ready, which is more than likely going to be the way all homes are built in Colorado in about 10 years. There's 60 jurisdictions in Colorado that recommend this. It's basically pre-plumbing your radon system. You pre-plumb it that way. You don't have an ugly system on the side of your house. You're under no illusions in this industry. The systems are loud. They're ugly. Yeah. We don't want it, but it's a lot better than lung cancer. It's a lot better than going to the oncologist. So what we should be doing and what we should petition for is these laws to build Radon Ready, which again, about 60 jurisdictions in Colorado have these laws on the books, but they're all municipalities. The only state law we have that we finally passed in 2021 was requiring licensing for radon contractors. Okay. So for the last 30 years, if you have a radon system, you go, oh, Brent, I'm safe. Quit talking about this. Again, keep up with your testing, because for the last 30 years, a guy could come in, do work on your house, and he didn't even have to watch a 10-minute YouTube video on what radon is. He could just do it. Okay. And we are now pushing, there's information on my website about this bill, but we're pushing for a bill that's a radon disclosure bill. Just like when you buy a house, you have to sign a piece of paper that says, I know what lead is. I know what asbestos is. I know these things could be in my home. Signing a bill that says, I know what radon is, and I know there's a risk living in this house that it might have radon. We're pushing for that because most states that get that, they're testing triples. And we have far too few homes are tested in this state. Statistically speaking, you should see a radon system on every other house in the state of Colorado. Oh, really? And you usually don't.
Yeah. I think they're popping up more and more, but definitely not every other. Okay.
We're kind of like where asbestos was in the 60s.
Okay.
You know, like the science is out. Yep. The problem with our industry is there's no one to sue. There's no evil corporation that put it there and hid it from shareholders. Okay. It's just there. It's naturally occurring. And a lot of builders and a lot of contractors slough off that responsibility because you're not going to sue God. Yeah. It's part of the earth. It's been in the earth's crust forever. We are just finding out now about the dangers of it. Yeah. But I think at some point there might be a class action lawsuit against a builder that's knowingly building in high radon areas. There's a place in Pennsylvania where the outside radioactivity is 20 picocuries per liter. Playing catch with your kid on the front lawn. It's absurd. That's
just hanging out on the front lawn.
Hanging out on the front lawn, close to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. And they should tear down every home in this neighborhood, but they didn't. And they're still living in them and couldn't pay me to live there.
So
maybe there'll be a big lawsuit there, and then we'll get some play. Okay. But I mean, it's just it's a very easy way to test and avoid lung cancer. Very cheap. Even the systems themselves, a lot of people go, oh yeah, the test is cheap, but then you're going to rope me into a $10,000, $20,000 system. Yeah. Average cost, Colorado is one of the cheapest states for radon remediation and mitigation. Okay. The average cost in Colorado post-COVID is about $1,500 for a system, $2,000. Okay. They should be charging a lot more, but these guys are They got big hearts and they don't want to. They want to help people out.
Help people rather than
Yeah.
make money. That's good.
Yeah, my customers they got big hearts. So,
Okay.
but yeah, it's less than like a new furnace or an air conditioner.
Yeah, and I know you said you ship worldwide. This is a global problem.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, are other countries ahead of this compared to what you said the United States are, or how do you see that, globally?
Europe has a lot more respect for sciences and protections, but even they haven't been testing as much as they should. I see a lot of articles about Europe. Radonova is a big testing lab out there. South Korea, I think, is really good on building. They're helping a lot because they're an entire state. So Colorado is a Zone 1 high-risk state. There's only 3 in the country. Do you want to guess which one's there? Maybe one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to guess they're more landlocked. I don't know why I'd think that because you used to talk about the coast, right? So Colorado, Montana, and Wyoming were right next to each other. Yeah.
And I would guess that those are all probably high-risk Zone 1 states.
Okay.
But what's happened is the EPA made a map in 1993 with 10,000 data points.
Yeah.
And they said, here's your risk if you live in America in these counties.
Yeah.
10,000 data points for the entire country. We now have well over 10 million data points, and they haven't updated that map. So the EPA map, I wrote a whole blog post on this. I love the EPA, trust the EPA, but don't trust that map to decide if you want to test or not.
Understand. Okay.
Every single state that has updated their map has gone to Zone 1 high risk. Iowa is one of them, North Dakota, and Colorado. They've all updated their map. Somebody got a master's degree and went through and did this and presented it to the state. Iowa actually has so much radon that's standing in your backyard. You have about 0.1 picocuries more of radioactive exposure standing in the backyard in Iowa than you do in Colorado. So it's not just a mountain problem, but a lot of people do. They think it's just a mountain problem.
Okay.
Rocky Mountain, granite soils. Yeah, it's all over.
So people that are just hanging out in their backyard or whatnot, or like you talked about someone playing on their front yard in Pennsylvania, like what does a radon system put in place to help those areas? Or are they inhabitable in your opinion, or is there something that a homeowner can do to still take the right step?
Yeah, I mean, for outside, so a big thing is you can look at my red flags page on my website, but a big red flag is radon venting near windows or U-bends or exhaust not above the eave.
Okay.
When we're getting rid of a radon, we're sucking all the air from under the home, shooting it up above the roof so that it can dissipate harmlessly into the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do it right next to a window, the risk is what we call re-entrainment. It'll get sucked right in, maybe into your bedroom, your kid's bedroom.
Oh, wow.
And then when you do a radon test on the lower floor, you think you're safe, but on the upper level, there's a room that has 10 times the radioactive exposure.
Okay.
So typically when you're outside, you're almost always safe, unless you're living in that one community in Pennsylvania where there's a known radioactive rift in your area. There's a really cool documentary on Uravan, Colorado. So in Colorado, check this out. It's linked on my site, but if you search Uravan, Rocky Mountain PDS, it's a really cool 30-minute doc. We used to be able to pick up uranium right off the ground in Colorado, and then the nuclear age happened, and they wanted those fuels for nuclear weapons and nuclear power. So then there's this huge, basically Uravan's a ghost town now, but it was a huge uranium boom and mining town. And the isotope that radon, the dangerous radon gas, radon-222, decays from is not an isotope that, I believe it's uranium-235, so you can turn into weaponry, and this is uranium-238. I might be mixing those two up, but I think I'm right. So again, the government doesn't have a huge incentive to go pull out all this uranium from the soil because they can't make it into weapons, and they can't make it into power at this point. So it's just, and there's so much of it. I mean, it's really up to your neighbors could have high radon and you couldn't because they have a thimbleful 200 feet down and you don't. It's just the way that it comes up from the soil and gets pulled into your house. So,
okay.
Yeah, backyard, you're safe when you're outside.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
99% of America.
Is it fun? Okay.
Yeah, it's just it builds to dangerous levels in our homes.
Gotcha.
We spend a lot of time outside.
Yeah, we do, especially during certain times of the year, right?
Yeah, on YouTube and watching silly videos.
Yeah, and I know I've heard this in the past, but I've heard there's certain times of the year that is a more effective time to test, from my understanding. Yeah. When is that?
So January is Radon Action Month. So the joke in our industry is your house sucks. What we mean by that is that it literally is sucking on the soil. So it's due to the stack effect. You can read about this online on my website or others. But basically, there's a pressure differential in every home. When it's cold outside and it's warm inside, the air wants to equalize. Everything, entropy wants to become stable. So when it's 30 degrees out and it's outside and 70 degrees in the home, the air is more likely to get pulled in through your foundation. Concrete is very porous, especially on like a molecular level, subatomic level. It's like cheesecloth. So you can pull in hundreds of cubic feet of air per minute through concrete or through a crawl space, a gravel crawl space. You can pull a ton of air through that. So that's what's happening. So when it's 70 degrees out, when you're buying a house in August and you do that radon test, there's not a lot of air movement because it's 70 degrees inside, it's 70 degrees outside. When there's that big differential, so in the northern hemisphere winter, then you're gonna have your highest radon levels.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and like you said, I know you don't do testing yourself. You're more of a supplier. So if someone's watching this video and they say, "Hey, I love to get tested. I don't want to really do it myself. Rather, a professional test me." Where do you go to get a professional testing done? How does someone go about finding a company that does that?
I would recommend starting with DORA, the Department of Regulatory Agencies, because we did just pass that law.
Okay.
So look for somebody that's licensed. Make sure that they're credible. Check out their website. Look for videos. Look for testimonials, just like you would be vetting any other contractor. You can call us up and give us your zip code. We'll recommend all sorts of folks. I don't want to name any right now because I know I'm going to forget somebody they're going to give us that.
Absolutely.
Tell me where you're at, and I can tell you somebody that does it well. As far as testing goes, doing it yourself isn't too difficult if you're following the right protocols. One thing I do want to mention is there's a lot of continuous radon monitors on the market, which is really, really cool. These are machines that used to cost thousands of dollars, and now we can, just like with anything, we can get one in our house for $200. The big caveat with these machines, even the ones that I sell, is make sure you test the testers. So they're cool. They give you readouts every 10 minutes, or like they'll tell you your radon fluctuations with the weather and the wind. But people even plugged in, and they'll do the same thing they do with radon systems. They've been plugged in for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and they'll just keep trusting them. The pros, they have to pay hundreds of dollars to get theirs recalibrated every year. You can't recalibrate the consumer device yet. Companies that are working on that. So the consumer device, I recommend taking your charcoal test kit, $15 test kit, putting it right next to that every couple of years, do that EPA test. Make sure the lab kit is giving you the same reading as the kit you bought from me or the kit you bought off Amazon, because one day it won't, and that's time to just throw it out and get into one.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. All right. And also too, just kind of curiosity. Now that you have like a radon business, how did you find your way to Colorado? I know we joked about Chicago and started so how'd you get to Colorado Springs? You know, it's a pretty good distance of miles.
I'm an invader, just like a lot of us.
At least you're not new. Like you've been here for a good amount of time, right?
I didn't tell a lot of people about this place. I tried to keep hush hush. I graduated at the trough of the Great Recession, 2009. Literally the month I graduated was the lowest jobs month since the Great Depression. I still hold that record. So I had a great degree from University of Wisconsin in Madison, go Badgers. And I was living at home because the company I worked for fired me and then went out of business. I was working at REI with a bachelor's degree, graduated cum laude, feeling kind of depressed, thinking like this isn't how life's supposed to go. My little sister was going to school in Fort Collins at Colorado State. My mom says, "You're depressed, go visit your sister." I said, "Sure." Went and did that, partied for a couple of days, and was like, really cool. I like it here a lot. Asked my sister, "Hey, is it cool if your older brother crashes your college experience?" She goes, "Yeah, it's fine. I love you." I moved out a couple weeks later, and with a buddy of mine, and that's pretty much all she wrote. I lived out in Colorado, Fort Collins, for about 7 years. I was introduced through friends to my wife Natalie, and we hit it off right away. And we've been married now for 7 years. And just before marriage, she's an only child. Her folks are looking to retire. I said, "Hey, do you want to take over this business?" Very lucky man. They offered it to Natalie. She kept saying no because she's a wildlife biologist. She doesn't like business. I was working in business, worked in small business marketing for almost 10 years, but you didn't want to pass up the chance to be the owner. So we tried it out, and I loved it and passionate about it, and moved down from Fort Collins in 2017.
2017. So you've been a part of the company since 2017, or when did you resume ownership, or how that looked?
So 2017, we purchased the company. We got some on-the-job training from my in-laws. I think around the 90-day mark, they stopped showing up to work.
Like, 90 days.
They're like, "You got this. You're doing pretty good. It's not rocket science." And we, we put some systems in place. There are a lot of systems that are now run on our computer with redundancy and several people checking them that used to be run by my mother-in-law and Post-it notes. So like I brought that business skill set that I thought was kind of a useless degree. I brought some stuff that actually turned out to be very valuable to the business. Since then, we've almost quadrupled the size of the business. We've hit new markets. We've targeted things. We've brought in dozens of new products, and we really are a leader, and we try to be a leader in the radon mitigation and testing industry, because it is, even though it's an old problem, there's still a lot to be said. I'm constantly being amazed that some of these people I meet at the International Radon Symposium. It would be like if you ran an electrical supply house and you went to the company, the annual party, and you got to meet Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. Our industry is so young. The radon mitigation industry, in 20 years from now, we're going to look back at a video like this and be like, "Holy cow, people didn't test all the houses from radon. They didn't build all the homes radon ready. You guys just huff that stuff? And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, just like our parents. My dad used to always joke about how in Wisconsin as a kid on vacation, they used to go play in the DEET trucks. They would come and spray DEET, like big smoke to get rid of the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And they would just go up and down through the neighborhoods and blow smoke. And they would go dance through this stuff because there were no mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And it turns out they
Yeah.
all, got real sick and passed away. A lot of my aunts and uncles and people that
Oh,
generation.
man.
It's just one of those things.
Okay.
Asbestos, smoking.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna look back at radon in 20 years and be like, "Holy cow, how did we live like that?"
Okay.
So it's really is an industry in its infancy.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I feel like it's been around a long time, but I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't know about it until I bought a house in,
yeah.
2018. So
Technically,
yeah.
it's been around for a few billion years, but like
Yeah.
humans, we didn't realize our exposure was so high
Okay.
up until the early 80s, mid 80s. There's actually a really cool story
Mm-hmm.
about a fellow named Stanley Watrous. I encourage you to Google it. I've been trying to find more information about it because there's only a few articles from back in the day. But basically, he was a nuclear engineer. They're building a power plant in Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and he set off the radiation alarms going into work one day that are there to make sure that you're not stealing nuclear fuel.
Mm.
So he was going to work. He set off this alarm. That's weird. Who sneaks nuclear fuel into a site?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out he had over 2,000 picocuries of radiation in his basement. It took him a few months to figure that out. Some really top mind nuclear engineers were stumped by this problem because they were like, is it our equipment? No. Is it this? Is it that? They're like, no, he is radioactive. Why is he radioactive? Because he had incredible amount of radioactivity and radon in his house.
Yeah.
And that was the first home in America that was tested.
Wow. In what year is that?
I believe it was 1982. 82 or 84.
Okay.
So, yeah, before that, not a single house in the U.S. was tested.
Wow. So, I mean, you said about 20 years. Like, what do you think? Where do you think your industry is going to be at in 20 years? Is it too many unknowns, or do you think it's going to be?
I mean, I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of radon-ready new construction.
Okay.
So, a radon's problem will be as simple as having a contractor over for 30 minutes and popping a fan on your system.
Yeah.
The problem is right now the builders that are doing that, not all of them are doing it up to code, so a lot of those systems are useless.
Mm-hmm.
They call them passive radon systems, which is a bad term, I think, because passive implies it works in some regard. It works passively. It doesn't work in our climate. You still need to test. It's pre-plumbed is the term I like.
Yep. So
I always go like, hey, you got a pre-plumbed bathroom in your house. You never think of using that without a toilet, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with the radon system. It's pre-plumbed. You need a fan to actively pull that air 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of that. I think that's going to take over the majority of the industry, which is going to be great. Everything's going to be pre-plumbed. No more ugly fans. You just pop a fan in the attic. You're good to go. I think the testing is going to be a lot more automated. I think there'll be testing devices that are part of our smart devices, Google Nests or our thermostats. All those things will have radon testers that can alert us to a problem before it happens. Because right now, the biggest tragedy I see in radon right now isn't the person that goes, Brent, I don't care about radon. I'm not going to test. Fine. That's your prerogative. Go for it.
Yeah.
The biggest tragedy for me is the people that get a radon test, get a radon system installed, think they're safe, forget to test again. The person that put it in wasn't trained. It actually never worked in the first place. They lived there for 25 years.
Yeah.
Then they move away. The new buyer requires a test. They go ahead. It's not going to come up high. It comes up high. That's the tragedy for me. Somebody who thought they were safe and were living exposed for 25 years. So I think a lot of that is going to change with how cheap and how good the technology is getting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where do you see your company in the next 10, 20 years? What do you want for it?
Yeah, so when we took over from my in-laws, Frank and Janet, they didn't even have a mission statement. They didn't have company values. I mean, they lived principled lives.
Yep.
And they were ethical business people, but they just never thought to do that. I did it because of business school. And I thought it was kind of a silly thing to do at the time, but I'm like, this is what business school says. So I wrote a mission statement. Our values are vitality, integrity, and sustainability. Mm-hmm. We really do. I go back to this all the time, especially with hiring. Vitality, we offer extra 3-day weekends a couple times a month for our employees. We never ask for overtime. As soon as they clock out, we want them to go be with their families.
Yep.
Integrity covers everything in business. You make a mistake, you fix it.
Mm-hmm.
But sustainability is the one that this whole country, this whole economy has a lot of work to do. And in our industry, I think I could be a real force for change in that. So my goal is to make repairable radon fans, things of that nature. That's my real long-term goal. It's hard, but right now with the radon fan, it lasts a long time. They come with 5-year warranties. They last about 8 years on average. But when they die, pretty much throw the entire thing out. And it's a lot of plastic, a lot of metal, a lot of parts that aren't salvageable. Yeah. And I think we can change that as an industry. I've been talking with vendors, talking with manufacturers, and got some ideas of how to make these things less repairable. So when the radon fan dies, per se, you might be able to repair it, put it back with 95% of the original parts and get it back up and running. So that's my long-term career goal for the industry. And since the industry is so small, since we're such a big player in a small industry, I think we've got the perfect platform to do that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Very coal. It's a lot of cool things down your pipeline then.
It's fun, man. Yeah. It's really cool. I never thought I'd be here running a business, and I'm passionate about it. Natalie's, my wife, is always like rolls her eyes because I'll talk to anybody about radon. I'll be getting a beer, I'll overhear something, and I'll be, here's my card, come by, I'll give you a free test. And nobody ever takes me up on it. I'm like, literally just walk through the door, I'll give you a free test.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm like, it just feels weird to be like, you could tell somebody about radon and they could go, oh, they could have a light bulb moment and they could test. Yeah. And they could be safe. It's like, there's not a lot like that when you're, like in other things that I've sold in my past career, there's not a lot of things where you have that opportunity to actually help somebody that much. So okay, that's what I'm always talking about it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, it's good to have passion about what you do. So that's an important thing to have.
I'm blessed in that way.
Yeah. I do have two selfish questions I have to ask you. So I did check today. We're about to have 5 years of doing business with each other as far as being your IT provider. Nice. I don't know if you realize that, but 5 years has already passed. It's kind of wild to think. Just out of curiosity, selfishly for everyone out there, what's it like to work with CCS? Like, how have we helped you guys?
You guys are head and shoulders above my IT guy that I had before you. My IT guy, he was a little grumpy. Okay. He wasn't that experienced. His name's Frank. He's my father-in-law. He's about 71 now. Whenever we had a problem with our computer, we'd have to call Frank in. Okay. After that 90-day mark, he charged extra to come in. But no, we were literally, when we were taking over the company, I was like, this is ludicrous that we're running this business without the support. And then I was lucky enough to find you guys. I can't remember how I found you, but I'm like so glad I did, because at first I thought this seems like a lot of money, and now I'm like, this is a drop in the bucket. Like for the way how quickly you guys respond to things, you just fill out a help ticket. Everybody knows how to do it. Okay. Send out an email. Here's a help ticket, and then within like hours, sometimes within minutes, somebody's calling us. It's fixed. And it's like you don't have to waste time on stupid stuff like printers. Like the main of everyone's existence, or just like printing tickets, like stuff that would cripple our business for a full day, and I'd have to go on Google and figure it out. It's not like we're not capable of doing that, but just to have you guys where it's like, oh, here's a team of experts that can just take care of it is invaluable to us. So it's been an amazing 5 years. It's going to be another amazing 5. I'm looking forward to the 10-year mark, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to hear that there's a lot of good that comes to help you with headaches or not wasting your time. So
economics of specialization. I stick with radon. I know that. Yeah. You guys know IT. I'm just going to let you handle that.
Awesome. Okay. Excellent. And then the last thing I would like to ask is, as someone who came from a different state to Colorado, we don't want to give away all the secret gems. Yeah. But if someone's new to Colorado Springs or Colorado in general, like, what's something you'd recommend someone to go do? I mean, it could be visit your favorite restaurant, brewery, hike,
There's a ton of breweries. There's a lot of breweries these days where you can pay by the ounce. Those are kind of fun.
Yes, yeah.
There's one, is it called Trails End Tap Room? I don't know if you've been to that one.
Yeah, it's on the west side of town.
That one's
Colorado City-ish, right?
All right, so I'm going to plan the perfect Saturday for somebody new here. Okay. Go to, all right. Well, you'd have to call me because you might not be able to do this on your own, but go to Red Rocks. You can walk around. It's like Garden of the Gods. It's part of the Morrison Formation. It's on the other side of the street. But you can rock climb there on a day where it's dry. You don't want to use wet, but there's some really easy sport rock climbing. Like I could take you up 5, 6s. It's basically like climbing a ladder. Oh, okay. Set the route, climb there. Yep. But that's something that you could learn to do within your first month of moving here. Okay. Or join one of the many awesome climbing gyms. I'm a member of Gripstone on the north side, so you can climb indoors. Then go to Trails End Tap Room afterwards and try like 10 different beers, but really only drink an ounce of each. Yep. And you get this little card and it's fun. You're your own bartender. And I think that makes for a pretty good day. You don't want to load it up too much. Yeah, rock climb and beer.
Rock climb. That sounds like a pretty typical Colorado type of day. So
I'm loving that day. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it was fantastic to come chat with you, hang out in your office, and just kind of just introduce or talk about your business to everyone out there on the YouTube world. Yeah. I appreciate giving up some time and letting me come chat with you. Yeah. To who's out there, we'd love to be able to come by your office and hang out and kind of chat about your business. Oh, actually, come to think, sorry everyone, I did forget about one thing I was due to ask you. Yeah. Forgive me, everyone. We're gonna backstep real quick. One thing I was like to ask is like, hey, what are you doing in Colorado Springs as a company? And so, it'd be kind of cool to say like, hey, what kind of outreach or what are you guys involved as business goes?
Yeah. So right now, my wife, we do donate to a lot of causes. Time is the one thing that I don't have enough of. Yep. We've just done some hiring, so I'm hoping to We donate a lot of materials at reduced cost to Habitat for Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do that in college, and I want to get actually on sites again, swinging hammers.
Yeah.
So that's on my list for 2024.
Okay.
On a personal level, I last year I volunteered with Children's Literacy Center,
Mm-hmm.
which is just great. I was feeling real down about the world and discourse, and if you guys are on YouTube, you've probably been in the comments before. It's not a friendly place to be.
Yeah.
So I wanted to help with critical thinking in some small way. And I was like, well, if you can't read, you can't think critically.
Yeah.
So Children's Literacy Center is literally it's just one-on-one tutoring with a member of the community, children typically from I think the ages are as young as 5 up to like high school age.
Yeah.
And you're with them for a whole semester. It's just an hour a week. So I'll go there every Wednesday.
Awesome.
Read with this kid Jace, who's really nice,
Yep.
but he just had problems. He was behind his classmates who put in an extra hour.
Mm-hmm.
With a guy like me, I use semicolons in my text, so I feel like I'm pretty literate. I read a lot, so I'm teaching Jace and getting to know him, and
cool.
It's really fun. And I definitely want to do that again. I'm hoping to do that next semester.
Awesome.
So yeah, Habitat is a good one to check out for sure.
Very cool.
Children's Literacy Center.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure the city definitely appreciates everything you put back into it.
Try to.
And yeah. So with that, I promise you, I no hidden questions in the back of my head. So we appreciate hanging out with us. We'll see you next time for the conversations in Colorado. And I appreciate you hanging out with us and hearing more about PDS Radon supply. We'll see you next time. See you later.
That's for Radon.